Well, Yemen's president has called a meeting of political forces on May the 17th to discuss his country's war. To discuss that and the latest military developments, I'm joined now by the geopolitical analyst Marco Vicenzino, who's the director of the Global Strategy Project. Marco, airstrikes at the airports, as we saw there in John Cookson's report, in Sana'a and in the southern city of Aden. What is it hoped that those were going to achieve?
According to the Saudis, what they're looking for is they're looking to weaken and to contain Houthi forces and force them to the negotiating table. For them, they want the Houthi forces basically to withdraw from the cities and to disarm. From the Houthi perspective, they want to consolidate their positions and the land that they've made, the territorial gains that they've made. So when they go to the negotiating table, they'll be dealing from a position of strength. The reality is that both sides know there's no military solution to this conflict. But the big question is, between now and when they come to the negotiating table, how much more damage will there be to Yemen?
Yeah, this meeting that we mentioned a little earlier on the 17th of May, what is it hoped will happen there?
Basically, President Hadi is going to be calling in all the anti-Houthi forces and segments that have broke away from the Houthi coalition. And the idea is to consolidate them politically, unite their position, create a full united front. So if it comes to the time that they do come to the negotiating table, they have a solid, coherent, united front with international backing.
Yeah, obviously these attacks are in contrast to what Saudi state TV said a few weeks ago, that they was going to scale back these airstrikes. What is the humanitarian concern right now? Because obviously people have been trapped in this war containing many sides for many, many months now.
There's a humanitarian disaster that's already been unfolding. According to the UN, there's hundreds of thousands that have been displaced, and millions are at risk of food shortages. You've got to remember, Yemen is a country that depends overwhelmingly on imports for its supplies, food, fuel, and other essentials. So basically what happens is that this humanitarian catastrophe needs to be relieved, and those airports and those ports that have been bombed are the lifelines of the countries. The Saudis have suggested and made a proposal to create temporary ceasefires and to establish humanitarian centers, but the problem with that is logistical and political, how to actually implement that, and the UN would have to play a key role in that because there's no trust between all sides.
So just why are Senegal sending these troops?
Basically, to be proactive in international affairs has its benefits, diplomatically, economically, and also militarily. But I think in this case here is the fact is you have to look between Senegal and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has always been a big supporter, diplomatically and economically, of Senegal. From Senegalese perspective, also for them to be able to contribute to the defense and the protection of where Islam was born and the holiest sites of Islam, because after all, Senegal is a Muslim-majority country, has its advantage to it. And then there's an international dynamic. The international dynamic is that Senegal would be part of an international coalition that's formed by all the members, eight Arab states. It has a UN Security Council resolution, its legitimacy. The United States, France, and the UK are providing logistical support to the coalition. So in essence, they're part of an international coalition. That also brings advantages and prestige.
Yeah, many countries involved in this conflict, either logistical or militarily. Surely the addition of these thousands of troops is only going to inflame things further. It's only going to make this conflict even worse.
Well, remember, the Senegalese troops are going to Saudi Arabia. They're not going into Yemen. One has to distinguish between the fact that there's the threat of the use of force and the actual use of force. The threat of the use of force often carries more weight than the actual use of force. So Senegalese troops are going there as a preparation. The military option remains on the table. It doesn't mean that they're actually going into action. So I would say on this part, the Senegalese leader might even be considering the fact that ultimately his troops probably aren't going to go in, and he'll actually, by actually having them physically present there, that once again brings advantages.
Saudi Arabia talking about temporary truces to try and help with the humanitarian effort. Just how realistic is it that that might go ahead, given just how many different sides are involved in this conflict and no one really answering to anyone in this conflict?
Basically, the May 17th meeting is part of it is to help to redress that, whereby they can consolidate the government front, the anti-Houthi front can be consolidated. By consolidating that, they'll help address the question that you just asked. There'll be a clear side, all united and all coherent, leaving the Houthis leaving the Houthis sort of disenfranchised and illegitimate internationally. That's the goal, because that united front will have the support of a United Nations Security Council resolution. And the idea is to try to get quicker, rather sooner than later, to the negotiating table in a position of strength.
Marco Vicenzino, very interesting as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you.